Just go out like fuck it, or it's gonna be like nah.
Tino.
Ooh.
So they
What's up, y'all? It's Cuss by Matt, back at it with another video. Hope y'all enjoyed the last one. This time I got my boy Jalen in the chair. I'm about to chop down the fro down to wavelength, give him some low tapers and a part on the side. Shout out my dog Jalen, man. He has a family. He works long hours, so it'd be kind of hard for him to get an appointment with me, but we're gonna make this worth it for sure.
I ain't gonna lie, cause I got lucky, good looking brother. Like, this was a long time coming too.
To start off this cut, I'm just combing out my guy's hair. Preferably, I recommend everyone uses a pick, especially if your client's hair is a lot more thicker or nappier. But Jalen's hair is pretty light, so I didn't think I needed to use it. Also, a helpful tip, if your client's hair is pretty thick, I say maybe wash his head or spray a little water before combing out his hair, so that way it's easier for the client and you.
See, this motherfucker's still taking up.
Like I said, y'all, maybe spray a little water or wash his head. You can see right there I was struggling just a little bit, but I made it happen. Alright, it's time to chop off the hair. I got my corded wall senior with the number 3 guard on, lever all the way closed. And I'm starting off on the crown area. He has a lot of hair, so I'm doubling back and back and forth motion, making sure to be very careful. You can mess up or possibly make a patch if you're not careful. This part's so satisfying to me. I know bro was so juiced when he seen all that hair come off his head. I'm trying to imagine what he's thinking right now.
Like, it's gonna go one or two ways. It's gonna be a fucked up year. I'm gonna just go out like fuck it, or it's gonna be like nah, this him.
It's gonna be a boy, yeah.
Exactly.
Boy.
I went with the 3 because that's probably the best for his hair type, to keep it dark. But he'd be so mad if I left him like this.
What happened to your head? That's what I'm talking about.
Don't disrespect me like that. I know you got me on snap, dog.
Nah, I wouldn't do him like that. But I'm just knocking off the rest of the hair right now. I got the corded senior, very powerful clipper, good for knocking off weight. I've been rocking with this clipper since the beginning of my career. And I'm very big on making sure we get an all even cut, so a powerful clipper will help you when you're knocking down hair. I like to take my time with everything, even taking down hair. You could possibly create a patch or mess up if you're trying to rush a cut. So stay detailed and make sure that you take your time.
It was all timing. It'd be God's timing, bro.
For the low tapers, I'm creating my first guideline with the Gold FX trimmer, kind of near eye level, and I'm in a C motion, creating a C half moon kind of guideline, so that way the bald part of his haircut pops out more and it creates a type of shape for the taper. And I'm just removing all the facial hair. And just like my previous tutorial with my tapers, I go by steps. So I'm gonna start by lever closed, making a centimeter of a guideline, and then following up with my lever all the way open, creating half of an inch of a guideline, just flicking out. When it comes to removing guidelines, I use a technique called lever play, and I'm pretty much just going up and down with the lever, making sure I completely remove the guideline I created. Following up after the half, I got my Ostra fast feed and I got my 0 guard lever all the way closed, and I'm making my 3rd guideline. And pretty much I'm just getting every single guard and I'm creating a guideline closed and open, and then removing the guideline with the previous step. I don't think there's any wrong or right way to fade. You should always do whatever is comfortable for you, especially if you're just starting. And for the purpose of this video, I just felt like this was more of like a very simple, dummy-proof type of fading technique, I guess. Always just be content with your fading techniques or however way you fade. And just, it's all about detail. If you continue detailing and you know to remove your guidelines, and that's pretty much it. And you get a good fade.
Bro, that's it, nigga. You already know, nigga.
I know with this fading technique, it seems like a lot because I'm using pretty much every guard, but in my opinion, I feel like this is the most easiest way to get a nice blurry tight fade. And when it comes to my fades, I prefer everything to be nice and tight and blurry, just because the bottom of the blend is probably the most important to get a very blurry effect. That's where the pop of the haircut is really gonna come out, and it'll just make your cut look a lot more cleaner, nicer, and just more saucier.
Saucy mutt too.
Now that I'm done working with the bottom of the blend, now it's time to work on the top. I got my number 1 guard all the way open, and I'm creating my guidelines. One thing I like to recommend is to always comb down the hair or brush down the hair, so that way you attack specifically the part of the blend you want to work at. You're not going any higher, and you're also attacking every single hair that needs to be cut. I go for more of a burst taper type of look, even when it comes to my low tapers, mid tapers. I just feel like it looks more blended, and once I line everything up, it pops out even more. I keep his corners dark because I will be using enhancements in this cut, but even when the enhancements wear off, he'll still have a dark, sharp line. The highest guards I'll be using is the number 2 all the way closed and the number 3 all the way open. And right now I'm just blending in any dark spots I see, and also making the corners just a little lighter so that way it blends in with the taper. This technique isn't just for waves, but with coarse hair in general. You could turn over your clipper and just blend downwards with the grain, so that way you attack hairs from all angles. Right now I'm just detailing the blend. Went back to the bottom part of the taper. Got my number 0 guard on my wall senior all the way closed. Just detailing, making sure everything's nice and tight. For the back tapers, we're doing the exact same steps I did on the sides, but I'm starting off my guideline where the ears end and just making a clean, straight guideline, making sure it's nice and bald. I don't use my shavers until the end, just because some of my clients don't need it, because with coarse hair, it's more easier to get little bumps or razor bumps. Since I already explained the process, I'm gonna just speed it up and I'm gonna get back to y'all once we line everything up. I'm gonna start the lineup now, and I'm gonna start in the back. I'm gonna begin the line behind the ear. I'm using the corners of my blade, and in a C motion, I'm just creating a natural line behind the ear. I'm using both sides of the edges of the blade, and I want to keep it natural as possible, and I don't want to push anything back. When I'm creating a shape, I just dab the trimmer along the skin. I don't really try to drag anything because you could cause redness or potentially cut someone. Especially if your trimmer is sharp, you just want to dab with the edges of the teeth. Alright, I'm gonna start on his line now. First thing I'm gonna do is spray a light amount of hairspray. What this does is it locks in all the hairs that needs to be cut. Second, I'm gonna comb down all the overgrowth. All that hair I'm combing down is pretty much like his bangs, not the actual hairline. And I'm gonna start right in the middle. When I start in the middle, I'm envisioning how I want his line. In person, on the right side of his head is a lot more lighter, so there's not that many overgrowth. But on the left side, from the actual perspective, there's a lot of overgrowth. So I'm working my way from the middle to the left, but on the screen I'm working from the middle to the right. And I'm just dabbing all the hairs. I'm not really trying to cut anything too much or really like get in detail with the line. I'm just trying to pretty much create a base for the line. And I'm gonna end at the corners. Right here, I start at the corner and I drag my trimmer down. What that does is it's an easier way to ensure that you go from the corner straight down to create that nice straight line. His hair on that side grows downwards. So when I'm dragging the teeth down, it's also attacking all the hairs that is growing downwards. I'm gonna take a pause on the front line and I'm gonna start my hooks / C-cups. Just like my last tutorial, I'm gonna use the edges of the blade and just tap on the line. I'm creating a half C or a hook. And I don't drag against the skin because you could cut the person or potentially just, create redness. So I start off in the corners and work my way to the right. And literally just tapping. You don't want to cut the person or anything. You literally just want to create a simple shape. Another reason why I made sure to keep the corners dark during the taper process is so that way you have enough hair to actually create the hook. Regardless of any spray or enhancement you apply, you have enough hair to create and develop the hook. If there's no hair, you obviously cannot create much of a hook, but with plenty hair still on there, you could create a whole entire shape. Now I'm gonna work on the other side of the line. In person, that's the right side, but on the screen, it's the left. So I'm literally just connecting that side to the middle. That's why I start in the middle. When you start in the middle, you're pretty much just connecting each side towards the middle. On this side of the line, it's a lot more lighter, a lot less hair. It naturally happens. So what I'm gonna do is be a lot more cautious and careful how I create the line. Even if there's not enough hair, you still wanna reside on the line. You don't wanna push anything back. None of that. You want to make sure you create a natural sharp line. Starting off in the middle, working my way from the right to the left, left to the right. On this part of the clip, my camera must have stopped focusing, but you can still see what I'm pretty much doing.
I can't see shit.
But I'm just literally doing the exact same thing I did on the other side, starting on the corners and creating a half C, half moon shape, whatever you want to call it, and being very gentle on the skin. Right here, I'm just detailing the C-cup / hook, and I'm literally just going over my steps, making sure everything's nice and sharp, nice and clean, natural, no pushback, and just taking my time. I'm not trying to rush anything. I don't want to mess up the shape I already created, nor do I want to push anything back. I'm going in the C motion, starting from the corners all the way down to the taper, and also reversing it, starting off on the bottom of the taper and working my way back to the corners. You want to make sure everything's nice and clean, so that way when I'm applying these enhancements, even when it's washed off, it's still going to be nice and sharp and dark. Just finished the hooks. Now I'm about to just finalize the line, making sure everything from right to left meets into the middle, perfecting the line. He low-key, it does have a widow's peak, so I'm not trying to push anything back at all. I want to make sure everything's nice and natural and straight. Okay, so for my enhancements, I have an air compressor, and for my semi-permanent hair dye, I use Kiss Express K98 Black with 90% alcohol. Right here in this clip, I got two cards, one going vertical and one going horizontal. It creates a box shape. I use this so that way I could darken the corners of the actual hairline. Then, after that, I have a bended card to create my hooks, and literally when I'm spraying, I have a trigger finger. What I mean by that is I'm doing light spritz, nothing too heavy, nothing too light. Every airbrush compressor comes with an airbrush gun. On my gun, I have a lever on the top. That's my trigger. The lever, when you pull back, it allows the paint to release from the gun. The more you pull back the lever, the more the paint will release from the gun. And I'm talking about the airbrush gun, y'all, not a real gun, my bad. I don't promote violence. Right here, just making sure I applied the right amount of enhancements on the right side of his head, keep it nice and natural. Then, bro requested a nice little side part on the top of his head, somewhat like a juice cut. So right now, I'm just creating the little line. I'm not trying to go in too deep, nor am I trying to make a really thick line. So I'm being as gentle as possible and making sure that the line is straight and symmetrical. And just like the C cups, I'm not trying to tap too hard, not trying to create any cuts or press in too deep. I apply a little hair fiber because the paint looks a little shiny on his head, so it makes it look more natural. Now I'm just finishing up this cut. About to do his facial hair. He keeps it nice and full. Some clients like their mustache like a pencil, pretty thin, but we're gonna just keep it full this time with the goatee, keep it nice and squared, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I always forget to record the part where I use the white pencil, but pretty much it just leaves a little white line so that way it creates an ash line. Right here, I'm just blending in the little white line, not making it too chalky or white. And I'm just using my trimmer right now, just dragging it along the line, not pushing anything back, literally just blending in the white ash. And the cherry on top to this cut is the razor. Got my Really Bow razor holder by my boy Rail. Shout out my guy. And I'm just stretching out the skin, cutting any stubbles, and finalizing the cut. And that's pretty much it. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this very detailed video. More on the way. And this is how to save a life. Thank you for watching. Bro went from
I'm gonna just go out like fuck it, or it's gonna be. Hold on. Wait a minute.